The only thing better than a superhero movie is a superhero team-up, and there are some team-ups we'd love to see. Sometimes they fight, sometimes they fall in love, sometimes they become the odd couple we've always wanted to see. But when heroes team up, the results are two great tastes that taste great together. The Marvel Universe is full of characters whose chocolate we'd love to see in another's peanut butter. Here are some we're hoping to see, and some we wish we could have. When you're the Hulk, sometimes you want to just get away. You'd think being an unstoppable smashing machine would mean that people would be more than willing to give you some space, but alas, that's not the case for the mean green wrecking machine. When you're a rogue super soldier experiment and mutant, sometimes you just want to get away, you know? You'd think that being an unstoppable berserker with unbreakable claws would mean that people would be more than willing to give you some space, but alas, that's not the case for Logan, the man they call Wolverine. Where can two nearly indestructible forces of nature go to get a little me time? Why, the frozen north of Canada, eh? When these two kindred spirits met in that gorgeous but unforgiving winter wonderland, it was… they fought. Oh, and the Wendigo was there. No one likes a fifth wheel. Incredible Hulk 181 introduced the world to Wolverine. And while the two never became fast friends, the Hulk and Wolverine are forever tied. Thanks to the complicated nature of film rights, the Hulk hasn't gotten a solo movie since he wore a different face in The Incredible Hulk. But with the complicated world of film rights getting slightly less complicated, with Disney absorbing Fox, what better way to introduce the Wolverine to the MCU than have him meet the ever-loving Hulk? Deadpool has become one of the most popular characters in Marvel Comics, made even more so by Ryan Reynolds' pitch-perfect performance in 2 Deadpool movies. 2 Canada references in 2 entries, wow! The Merc with a Mouth is known for his unshakable irreverence and fourth wall breaks. But he isn't the first character in Marvel Pantheon known to crack wise under pressure. Peter Parker, the spectacular Spider-Man, has turned nervous chatter into an art form. Clever banter is not why these two should get together though. In the comics, Deadpool has had a lot of team-ups and partners, but only one of those partners actually made Deadpool want to be a better person. The comic run of Spider-Man and Deadpool provided great laughs, as well as the usual dose of excitement, but it also did something Colossus couldn't manage in the movies, instilling Uncle Ben's advice about power and responsibility to Wade Wilson. They even managed to get some use out of Spider-Man's spider buggy on a road trip where Deadpool introduced Spider-Man to the concept of breaking the fourth wall. What could be better than an MCU road trip with the 2 fastest mouths in the MCU? Oh, and a dune buggy. Dune buggies are super cool. Nothing good ever comes from Galactus coming to town. Generally speaking, it means that he wants to make a meal out of said town and every other town on the planet. Galactus is the hungriest hippo in the multiverse, and that hunger can never be sated, just temporarily fed. Finding edible planets is a labor-intensive task, so the big purple planet eater dolls out the power cosmic to select beings to be his herald. The best known of these is a man called Norrin Radd, who agreed to be a herald of Galactus in order to save his own planet, only to be never allowed to return. When it came time to serve Earth up on a platter, however, the noble Silver Surfer turned on his master, who left the Earth alone temporarily, and the Surfer bound to it. In order to defeat an encroaching darkness threatening to consume the universe, Galactus has enlisted the already powerful Thor with the power cosmic as the Herald of Thunder. Who better to show the Thunderer the ropes of being Galactus' Yelp reviewer of tasty planets than the Surfer, one of the first heralds to tell the big guy, no. Even when the rights to characters are under the same umbrella, there can be bureaucratic barriers to get the team-ups we all want to see. Daredevil's rights reverted back to Marvel not long after the MCU got rolling, but the Man Without Fear didn't make another appearance on the big screen. Instead, Daredevil led off a series of shows featuring heroes whose activities were more restricted to the streets of New York on Netflix. That's when fans learned the difference between Marvel Studios and Marvel Entertainment. While complicated, the difference meant that Daredevil and Captain America were in the same universe but would never really interact. The Man Out of Time and the Man Without Fear have had some important team-ups, including a rough partnership in the comic book version of Civil War. One of the driving elements of modern Captain America stories is Rogers trying to reconcile World War II-era idealism with the complex realities of the modern world, including the fact that his time wasn't as ideal as he thought. Most of the people who guided Cap through more complex understanding of the modern world is Matt Murdock, the Daredevil. While some heroes' day job is being rich, Daredevil operates a law clinic where sometimes he even represents the people he helped catch. In stories like Civil War and Daredevil Born Again, the two have learned from each other. Charlie Cox and Chris Evans have both turned in amazing performances as the heroes, Maybe the multiverse can give us what we missed out on, huh? For comic book fans, the announcement that the mutants were coming to the MCU right about the time that Captain Marvel got a solo movie meant one thing: Carol Danvers and Rogue are going to have to meet. A big part of the MCU's Captain Marvel story was Carol Danvers' missing memories. That was thanks to Yon-Rogg and the Supreme Intelligence, but in the comics, it's a little more complicated. You know the story: an adopted mother, Mystique, gets in her head that Carol Danvers will do her in. Her young charge takes it upon herself to stop her, accidentally absorbs Danvers' powers and all her memories, and starts a long rivalry between the Avenger and the member of the X-Men. Through the efforts of Professor X, Danvers has regained her memories, but no attachment to them, and Rogue has managed to make better friends than Mystique. But when you steal someone's memories, that's not really something you can just get over. We did get a version of Rogue in the Fox X-Men franchise, but without a Captain Marvel, we never really got the Rogue most people know from the comics. Now that both characters are under the same umbrella, we could get frenemies to rival Captain America and Iron Man most friendly disagreements. Mostly. One of the connecting themes in the Marvel Universe, of course, is the importance of responsibility when it comes to power. The other is better living through science. Being a child of the Silver Age of comics, a lot of Marvel superheroes are either accidents of science, products of science, or science experiments gone wrong. With all that science, you need a lot of big science brains. Well, Marvel has plenty of those. There's tech billionaire Tony Stark and his ever-evolving suit of armor, the foremost expert on gamma radiation, chiefly by having an extra heavy dose unleash an unstoppable rage monster inside Bruce Banner, a flexible genius exposed to cosmic rays, a teenage genius bitten by a radioactive spider, and a woman who grew up in the labs of the most technologically advanced nation on the MCU's Earth. Between them, their advances have been both the cure and cause of some of Marvel Universe's biggest problems. Anytime two of these big minds have gotten together, whether it's to build a time machine or fix a super android, the results have been entertaining. What better way to celebrate the super science of science fiction than having the geniuses of the MCU team up? What could go wrong? I mean, lots of things. Lots of things. But that's all part of the fun. Some heroes with similar powers are directly related, like Jennifer Walters and her cousin Bruce Banner, who now share a set of powers thanks to an emergency blood transfusion. Then there are those who get similar set of powers without any relation at all. Jessica Drew gained the ability to do whatever a spider can through her parents' direct experimentation. Walters doesn't share her cousin's head for science, but that doesn't mean she's not without options. Instead, like Matt Murdock, she takes up law. Drew, on the other hand, follows in another famous Jessica Drew's footsteps and becomes a private investigator. What better legal team can you imagine than a lawyer with Hulk powers and a private investigator with spider powers? Even better, while Walters has taken her superpowered life in stride and become the personable type, Drew has a tendency to rub people the wrong way. We know that the She-Hulk is coming to the MCU. Having fellow Lady Liberators member Jessica Drew doing her investigative work would be all that much more fun. Some people are born for greatness, and some have greatness thrust upon them. Some have to be born into greatness and have it thrust upon them, like the half-celestial, half-human Peter Quill. Or as he manages to get almost no one to call him, Star-Lord. Scott Lang just wanted to be able to spend time with his daughter and watch her grow up. Between an unfortunate stretch in jail and then Thanos, he missed most of that. Regardless, both heroes have managed to make the most of things. They also both have a tendency to let their mouth run them into extra bits of trouble, and sometimes even out of it. Okay, so really when it comes down to it, this team-up is almost entirely based on how enjoyable it would be to see Chris Pratt and Paul Rudd share scenes as fast-talking superheroes. But the combination of Galactic Thief and Terrestrial Thief with a shrinky suit promises to result in some great adventures as well. The Master of the Mystical Arts and the God of Mischief have actually already met, and it was the highlight of a movie that was riddled with highlights. Doctor Strange has been tasked with protecting the Earth from mystic threats, and after the Battle of New York, there was perhaps no greater threat than Loki. That came about from Loki's sibling rivalry with his adopted brother Thor, and a troubled bid for a fickle dad's love. So things are complicated. By the time Ragnarok came around, Loki had moved closer to the ally column than adversary. But with Loki, that line is always a little fuzzy. Of course, Loki had that unfortunate run-in with Thanos, but a Loki from a different time have skipped out of the timeline to set off on a new set of adventures. Who better to guide that Loki towards the more friend than enemy path than the only person who has been a match for Loki's magical manipulations than Doctor Strange himself? It might even be Doctor Strange could help the alternate timeline Loki find his way to our timeline, joining other timeline replacements like Gamora. More than a few of these team-ups are between some noted frenemies, but none of them are perhaps more noted than Venom and Spider-Man. The rogue Clintarian symbiote and the friendly neighborhood Spider-Man have had their destinies tied together ever since Parker mistook Venom for a wardrobe change on the Beyonders' battle world in Secret Wars. While the symbiote suit came with upgrades, it also came with the Clintarians' tendency to bring out adrenaline and anger in their host, causing Parker to do a hard breakup in a bell tower. Obviously, the symbiote didn't take the breakup well, and Eddie Brock has been haunting Peter Parker ever since. Venom's combination of love and hate for Spider-Man has made Venom a premier member of Spider-Man's already spectacular rogues gallery. That also resulted in team-ups. Whether it's Venom giving an assist in taking down his more vicious offspring Carnage, or the ever-optimistic Peter trying to teach Venom what it means to be a good guy, the combination of Spider-Man and Venom has been one of the best in comics. We might actually be getting our wish with this one, though for the time being only in the form of a cameo, with rumors going around that when Venom 2 hits, whenever movies hit in the future, Tom Holland's Spider-Man might be making a cameo. Some team-ups have almost happened, but not quite the way we know them. Wolverine has always been terrible at being a loner. No matter how much he does his lone wolf routine, he keeps teaming up with people or joining other teams. One of the first and most iconic is when he took a young member of the X-Men under his wing, training her and acting like a mentor. No, not Rogue, Kitty Pryde. While every 80s comic book kid's secret crush did eventually make her way to Fox's X-Men franchise, she found her role as Wolverine's favorite replaced by the Southerner with the ability to absorb powers. Kitty Pryde's story took a lot of those hits. In the comic book story Days of Futures Past, it's Kitty Pryde who does the time skipping to convince her mentor to alter the course of future history. Kitty Pryde has also run in with Wolverine's former mentor after her dad got in a little trouble in Japan, resulting in Pryde being trained as a ninja, and Logan having to bring her back from the accompanying brainwashing. Parts of that story were used for the Wolverine, though again without Kitty Pryde. That was then though, and this is now, and with a fresh start, we have a fresh opportunity to have Wolverine's best mentor relationship brought to life. Spider-Man has some amazing friends. One of those amazing friendships has been with another young person who suddenly found himself possessing great power, Richard Rider. Instead of getting bitten by something radioactive, Rider was granted the gear of a fallen Nova Corps soldier, becoming Nova. As this list shows, Spider-Man has a lot of great team-ups, and we're not even done pairing them up yet. But a few of them have been with someone he can truly relate to in the way he does with Nova. They're both young and idealistic, and thrust into a world bigger than either of them could have imagined. They both have to navigate an adult world of superheroes, while also trying to be regular teenagers. This has made the team-up between Spider-Man and Nova that much more special. Generally speaking, it's still the more experienced Spider-Man showing his young friend the superhero ropes, and that all-important lesson from Uncle Ben, but this time to someone who can relate to Peter's unique struggle. We all know that the Nova Corps had an unfortunate run-in with Thanos, and the Nova Corps have been shattered. It might only be a matter of time before a young Richard Rider finds one of those helmets. Hopefully, Parker will be there to show him the way. The only other hero to compete with the number of team-up potentials as Spider-Man on this list is the bad boy of the X-Men, Wolverine. Like we said, he's bad at being a loner. Spider-Man and Wolverine have actually done quite a lot of teaming up. They fought side by side and against each other, or against a wide variety of enemies, and even spent time as fellow Avengers. While you might think that Peter's sunny disposition would make Logan's sour outlook on life make for a rough friendship, but it's another Parker Guardians lesson that made Parker and Logan good friends. While Uncle Ben grabs all the headlines, it's Aunt May's compassion and understanding of broken people that has helped guide Parker to find the good in people and relate to their struggles. That level of empathy has allowed Pete to become something rare for Logan, a friend. Who better to smooth things over between the Hulk and Wolverine than the friendly neighborhood Spider-Man? Speaking of besties, one of the best stories to come out of Marvel's animation studios is the story of a young Inhuman with stretchy and go big powers and her superhero pal who can talk to squirrels. Look, it's more useful than it sounds, okay? You ever been to a park? Imagine all those squirrels got organized. Just look at what Ant-Man can do with ants, right? Squirrel Girl may have started out as a comic relief character and member of the comic relief Great Lakes Avengers, but since then she started her own solo series in 2014, and she has become a fast fan favorite. For Secret Warriors, Kamala Khan, Miss Marvel, teams up with her friend Squirrel Girl to become proper superheroes when they run into Ghost Spider, better known as the alternate reality Spider-Gwen, voiced by Milana Voitrub. We know that Miss Marvel is headed to Disney Plus with her own series, and it'd be great to see her eager friend join her on her superhero journey. Plus, it might be another chance for Milana Voitrub, Lily from the AT&T ads, to portray the character after the New Warriors series was cancelled. It's not just good guys that'd be fun to see team up in the MCU. It might be fun to see some bad guys get up to no good in the universe. We saw some of that already through the Infinity Saga. Thanos teamed up with the likes of Loki and Ronan the Accuser, though it never worked out for either of them. On everyone's shortlist for the role of monster at the end of the book for the next big MCU saga has been perennial Fantastic Four hater Doctor Doom and the time-traveling Conqueror Kang. Kang has the advantage of being from the far-flung future where, already having ruled the universe, is now skipping back in time to get his conquering on. Dr. Doom, for his part, is not satisfied with being the monarch of Latveria, and has used his combination of science and magic to be one of the most consistently menacing mega-villains in the Marvel Universe. This team-up could be a destructive partnership, but Kang should be careful to check the fine print, because Doom always comes out ahead. Mads Mikkelsen for Dr. Doom! Those are some of the team-ups we'd love to see in the MCU. What are your favorites? Who do you want to see teamed up? Let us know in the comments, and while you're there, be sure to subscribe to CBR for the latest videos in your inbox.